Hey Todd Vloggers, Todd here. What's up? Thanks for watching. Hey, if you didn't know already, a couple days ago I started a new worship leader podcast where I'm talking about worship with friends of mine and people who are skilled in the ministry of worship. And so I'm not really a big fan of people like doing identity marketing, so I always hate it when I know a guy and he's got a blog for his worship team and then he's got a blog for his family. I just like to throw it all in. So there are some times where you watch an episode of the Todd Vlog and it's focused on one particular thing, because this is me. I mean, I'm not all worship all the time. I'm not all family all the time. I am a very multifaceted individual. And so this video, though, is definitely worship themed. As a part of the podcast deal, we're posting videos on the site for the podcast as well as for the blog. So I want to show you something. If you read the blog, you saw a few days ago that I'm reading a book by D.A. Carson, edited by D.A. Carson, called Worship by the Book. It's this really great book about worship, and it's just got some super great stuff, and I'm really digging it. It's kind of a hard read for me. It's pretty wordy, so I'm really having to read it slow and make sure I'm paying close attention and not getting distracted or whatever. But there was this great thing in the book that D.A. Carson shares. I think it's from another writer, but he shares it, which he calls the 4 reasons we worship. And so it's this kind of long paragraph definition, and I've really just been encouraged by it. The 4 reasons we worship. And so what I'm going to do this Sunday at Bethel is begin taking us through that. So for the next 4 Sundays, I'm going to talk about these things, because I don't know about you, but I feel a real burden to instruct people in worship. And I think sometimes we think that means I got to teach them how to raise their hands or teach them when they need to kneel. But I don't know that that's the only way we can teach about worship. And I think that sometimes it's even more important that we talk about the philosophy of worship and why we do those things. The practical advice is great too, but I just wanted to share these things. So I'm going to show you what I'm going to do. Some of you may know that I use an iPad on stage when I'm leading worship as on my music stand, and doing that, it not only has my chords, but I also can write stuff down or little notes or scriptures that I want to read. So I want to show you what I'll be doing Sunday when we talk about the 4 reasons we worship. All right, so I'm here in ProPresenter, and I've got my playlist here of everything we're doing, and here are our songs, and here I've got 4 reasons. And let me show you what I did. I actually created a slide. Okay, so it says 4 reasons we worship, and I did it in Keynote, which is a presentation software. And once I did it in Keynote, I then exported it as a TIFF file, so it could actually be my background. So it gave me not only just a different look, but it also stays constant. Some of you know that ProPresenter, when you type text in and you start adding more text, it can get really weird and it can start messing up your spacing. So I've got this, which will show up here, okay? And then my next slide, I put in this. So it's another TIFF file as a background. So the number 1 reason we worship is because it's commanded by God. And so instead of trying to write something that is just me talking, I simply included all of the scriptures in this paragraph in the book. So I've got 1 Chronicles 16:29. I've got Psalm 95, 6 through 7. I've got Psalm 102. I've got Matthew 4:10, which is actually it's a short one, Matthew 4:10. And then I've got Psalm 81, 8 through 10. This is the long one. So there are 2 slides to that one. So I'm excited about that. I'm looking forward to doing it for our congregation. I actually love that the paragraph starts off with this idea that we worship because God commands us to worship. Sunday after Sunday or Wednesday after Wednesday, whenever you lead worship, whenever I lead worship, week in and week out, we are doing battle with self in our own hearts and the people we lead. Worship culture can be an extremely selfish Christian subculture, and we can find people who are coming to church to get goosebumps or to hear their favorite song, or they have some sort of expectation. And I love that this list starts out with almost the complete opposite of this idea that it's for you. And I don't think any of us would say that, oh, the worship time, the singing of the songs and the prayers and the spoken things and the things that happen on stage is for me. I don't think any of us would say that it's for us, but we live like that. We respond to worship that way a lot. And so I just love that this is starting out with worship being commanded by God. Now, in the next 3 weeks, we'll talk about the other reasons why to worship God, and certainly one of those is that He has done great and marvelous things that we are the beneficiaries of. But I just like this, and I think it's great, and so it's a good way to sort of focus my people back on what's important about worship and why we do it. And this sort of idea is also very liberating, because if you're in a church that grasps this and hangs on to this idea that we worship because God tells us to, worship gets better because your people aren't near as consumed with their own desires and wishes and expectations. So it's a great way to kind of combat the selfishness of worship in a way that's peaceful and scriptural. And so I'm looking forward to that. So I would encourage you, worship leaders, when you get a good idea, okay, whether you read it, whether you come up on your own. Now, a lot of us will write it out, but why not create a slide for it? I mean, why not utilize a little bit of the media that you normally use to sort of reinforce it? So that's my tip, my worship tip for this go-round.